All right. Welcome back to the Unstuck movement. I am your host, Rob Z. This platform was created to help you break the chains that are holding you back in your life personally and professionally. And today, I have an incredible guest with us. Ingo Schulmeyer is with us on the podcast. And Ingo, I like to dive in with a powerful question right off the jump. We're talking about true freedom in life today and finding out how do we find that freedom for ourselves. So the question I want to ask you is, how do you define true freedom in your life?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for the invite. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, and I think it's a big question to start with. But freedom, I think first of all starts with how you define freedom for yourself. And when I'm talking with my clients, a lot of people are focused on financial freedom, right? And a lot of times we're confusing that. We think we need to first become financially free before we can really achieve other freedom, like freedom of time, for example. And maybe I was trapped also for many years in this belief. I think today I think it's slightly different. And I think if you want to become truly free, you need to start to become mentally free. You need to free your mind. And I think there it starts everything. You need to release yourself from all the conventions and all the stuff that you hear and all the things you think you have to do to become free. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's actually, I think it's a place you have to start with that rather than thinking, okay, first I need to have a certain amount of money and then I can whatever travel. I think it's not working in that way because you actually will never achieve that, right? If you're just running after your goals, you always have new goals and you actually never will get where you want to be.
I love that, man. That's a great way of putting that. Mentally free before financially free or any other form of freedom. And I think that that's a really great place to start because mental freedom, man, so many people are in a prison of their own minds, right? And that's a place we can be trapped in. So we'll start there. But before we go any further, I just want to welcome everybody to the podcast. These are true testimonies of breakthrough. So everybody that I bring on this show, every single person has gone through a very stuck point in their life and found breakthrough, right? And I believe there's formulas to the breakthroughs in life, and this formula can be applied to any sort of breakthrough that we have. So I'm always looking for signals and signs of the points of that breakthrough that cause it to happen. And so when you make it through a breakthrough, right, usually that breakthrough becomes a superpower of yours, a gift of yours you can help and serve other people with. So I just want to give you a framework for what the podcast is all about. And also shout out the sponsor of the show, the Connected Leaders Academy. Make sure you check out connectedleadersacademy.com. Over 450 heart-centered servant leader entrepreneurs from all over the world who are connected together to help each other grow. And we'd love you to also be a part of our community. Also sponsored by, and I got to give a shout out just to everybody who's launched their podcast through our Pro Podcaster Academy platform. So if you are the expert in your field, but you want to be that go-to authority in what you do, you want to have a huge lasting impact on people's lives and also build incredible connections in your life, personally and professionally, I encourage you to launch your own podcast. You can go to the Pro Podcaster Academy, join the waitlist at robzwentz.com. Today, Ingo Schulmeyer with us on the podcast, a financial freedom coach, adventurer, and world citizen. After leaving a 15-year corporate career, he now helps others embrace mental and financial independence. So to be mentally free, what does that mean to you, Ingo?
Yeah, I think that's what I said before, right? You need to get rid of all these conventions that we have in mind and all of our limiting beliefs, right? Because we're educated in a certain way and we learn a lot of things when we're kids, but also when we're grown-ups. And we continue to adapt this, also these definitions, for example, what is really, what success really is or what freedom really is. So it's actually not, usually it's not our own definition. It's something we adopt a lot, at least to a large extent from what we hear on, not only on social media, but also from our families and friends and all the people we are in contact with during our lives, right? And so usually it's not what in our core is our own definition of success, our own values. So they're very biased, I would say. And I think to get there, to release yourself mentally, what I did was, or maybe let me briefly give my story, right? So I was also living this life. I had a corporate life. I had a successful corporate career. And as you mentioned, I was working for 15 years and I always thought, okay, I'm climbing this corporate ladder. I need to make more money and I need to support my family and we go traveling. And then everything will be good, right? So I always had these goals that I had to climb further and further. But in the end, I figured out it didn't really make me happy. And what helped me then was really to disconnect from all this noise around me that influenced me, and to start to look for the truth within myself, right? To find for me my own definition of success and my own definition of freedom, and yeah, to get rid of all this mental baggage that I'm carrying around. And I mean, it sounds easy now. It's not something that's happening overnight or something, right? There's some work to do, and there's some you need to make some progress there. But yeah, I think that was really game changing for me to reconnect with myself and to find this truth for myself.
Yeah, it's a conversation that comes up a lot on this podcast, obviously, because the most of the stories of people who have had success in their life but chased after the wrong thing, the wrong kind of success, right? Mm-hmm. So they found maybe financial freedom, but not that mental freedom. They found a different kind of freedom, but ultimately it was like, oh no, I didn't chase after the right thing here. And it's a beautiful way, actually. I honestly, it's really interesting when you hear that story over and over again. And we've heard this story from so many, wealthy people, successful people. They say, I got everything you think you would need in life. And then when I had those things, I realized I was still really broken. I still was searching, and it was more empty than I ever had been before. And for you, like that shift, when that shift started to happen, right? And you left that corporate career, what are some practical things that you did in that period that started to shift the way you think? What are the things you started to pay attention to and the things you stopped paying attention to?
Yeah, for me, the shift was quite radical. And I think not everybody can do it in that way, and not everybody should do it in that way. For me, what we did, I was living in this limiting belief that I was working in this job, and in the last years, I was not really happy anymore and didn't really fulfill me. And then suddenly, like it was during the pandemic when it got even worse, and I was just sitting in front of the Zoom meetings all day long, and I got really miserable. And then I think what you need to reach a point if you want to get out of your comfort zone, and if you really want to make changes from the life you have, that I call it's usually like the curse of a good life, right? I mean, usually we don't have really a terrible life, right? It's just, I mean, we're getting along and we're not suffering, we're not starving or anything, but we're also not, I mean, we could have much more, but the point is you need to make a radical change to get there. And usually it's much easier to continue every day this step that you do every day rather than making these big changes. So what needs to happen is that the pain of your current life needs to be big enough that, or you need to get over this threshold that you're really able to make this change. And that happened to me. I mean, we were in the pandemic where I didn't like my job anymore, and the kids couldn't go to school anymore, and my wife was also not so happy in her job anymore. And then we said, okay, let's do something else. Let's go to travel. And we sold everything, and we moved to Mexico, and we started a new life here, right? And that's a quite radical shift. So, which is also, I mean, yeah, I said already, it's not maybe recommended for everybody, but if you can do it, I think it's a great way, because you don't have the option to go back, at least not so easy, right? It's like you're making the step, and it's like what they call you're burning down all the ships behind you, and you're just starting a new life. And I must say, for me, it was really releasing, because the moment I told you, we quit our jobs, we sold our house, we sold our cars and all our belongings. And the moment we stood at the airport, we went there with our 2 kids and our 2 dogs and a few suitcases. In this moment, and everything fall down from me. It was really like a release. I never looked back. I never regret anything or something. This feeling of freedom just came up quickly. And Yeah, I mean, if you can do it in that way, I think it has some risk in it, sure, but it's also, I mean, I think in most of the cases, the risk is not, the risk of making this change is not higher than the risk staying in your life and living till the end of the life, life that you really don't enjoy. So what you need to do is actually you need to change your perspective, right? You need to understand that the life you're living is actually not what you really want. And if you think about it in a way, I mean, our life is short, right? We only have a certain amount of time available. And I like this exercise. You probably heard of it, right? If you think about yourself, if you reach the end of your days and your life is over, and you look back in a retrospective and look on your life, and then you think, is that really what I wanted to do in my life? And if you start to think in it in that way, usually I think most of the people will say, yeah, I think I would do something different, right? And from there you need to start. You need to look for things that you really, not only things that are bringing you pleasure or something, but that really bring you fulfillment, and it will really give you something much more than pleasure or happiness, right? Because there's something more to that.
For sure, man. And I think life's supposed to be an adventure. I think that life, when we play it safe a lot, it feels good, and it's maybe it's good for your family, it's good for periods of your life, but you need to have adventure in your life, and that adventure is going to be risky. That adventure is going to be kind of the unknown, and the unknown is where amazing things happen. When you take a big risk, and you can take calculated risks too. It doesn't need to be a big risk, but kind of like you, I did at one point burn the boats and just kind of jump from one thing to another, and it created a difficult period of my life. But as I'm several years removed from it now, I know it was the right thing to do, and I also learned so much during it. And we learn a lot through the pain, man. You learn a lot, like you said, you learned a lot through the pain of having that corporate job that you hated, right? So there's a lot of pain there that forced you to move. And usually most people are motivated to change through having enough pain, right? Once you have enough pain, it's like, man, I got to do something about this because I can't do this anymore. And that pain threshold, that rock bottom, is different for all of us. And so for anybody watching or listening, what is that level for you? What tolerance level do you have? And to go off on your own on that adventure, it's very scary. It's great to have a partner along with you on that journey, because that makes it easier if you're equally yoked in doing that. I love how you said the curse of a good life, man. That's really, really good, because yeah, a good life can be a curse in the sense that everything's a little bit too easy, and you don't really feel like you have to do anything else. And you're also kind of scared to do anything else because you don't want to mess up the good thing that you have. But like I said, life's called to be an adventure. I'm curious, with your relationship with your wife, it sounds like you two have a great relationship, that you equally were on board for doing this together. Because if you have one person ready to jump and one person not, that can be a really hard sticking point and can be something that goes on for years. So what would you say are some of the key ingredients in your marriage that make it such a great relationship?
That's a good question. Before I answer that, I first want to say, I mean, you mentioned it's easier if you have a partner. That's right. I think if you have a partner that is like-minded and you're going in the same direction, it's easier. On the other hand, for me, what was part of my limiting belief and what it made more difficult was also, if you're alone and you're moving to another country, it's one thing, right? But if you have to move a family and two kids that you're responsible for, and you're quitting your monthly paycheck that feeding your kids over so many years, there is a different decision. Also, the level of risk is different, right? So
Yeah.
I think in this context, it's easier if you're alone. You're more flexible. But
True.
yeah, I think I have a great relationship with my wife. And what are the key ingredients? I think it's being open and being vulnerable and yeah, I mean, standing together. And I think, we not always had always good times, and we're not always in agreement about all things, and we're also fighting sometimes. But I think that's what's also putting us closer together, right? Because I think today, yeah, many people getting married and getting divorced very quickly, right? But if you go also through difficult times together. Also, like if you don't enjoy it for some time, after that you will get out of it stronger, right? And yeah, I think today everything is we make very short-term decisions sometimes, and I think for me and also for my wife, it's very important that we, even if it's not always perfect, I think it's, we made this commitment, and we have also commitment towards our kids, and we want to raise happy kids and kids that understand the meaning of family and the values of family and the values of being together, which is like in also other areas in life, right? Also, leading a happy life doesn't mean that you're happy every day and that you have fun every day, right? Sometimes it's also okay to be sad or to be angry. So these are just feelings, right? But and we can also accept them, and from there it's much. I think people should stay longer, and if they made a decision like a marriage, which is a important decision, they should also stick to their commitment longer, and also from their self. Usually it's always two parts to that side, right? That you also need to do your work to make the best out of this relationship.
Absolutely, man. Well said. I think what you said about like emotions, like anger and those sorts of things, like we all have these emotions. They're not unique to us. They're for everybody, and you can't get rid of any of them. You're not going to get rid of those emotions, but you can learn how to utilize them and understand how to understand them and how to navigate them, right? Because there's a good form of anger. There's righteous anger. There's things that should make you angry. Then there's also things that, there's rage and things you need to work on. And so I think it's really important to recognize that, because you're going to experience those things. You take you wherever you go, right? So you go into every relationship you go into. And it's interesting. I thought about it this way at one point, and it makes sense as you were saying it. We have to live with ourselves, right? So I have to live with me. I can't get away from me. So I've got to learn to build a good relationship with me. And so when you marry somebody, like you said, taking it seriously is really important. Taking it as this is going to be a lifetime, and that's my choice, and I want to do this. So if I had to deal with me and I had to live with me and I wasn't happy with myself, what would I do? I would improve myself so I had a better relationship with myself. Same in a marriage. You might not be getting along all the time. You might have conflicts, but at the same time, I'm stuck with this person, and that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, because I want to learn how to make this work. And so I think when you're equally set on that vision, now you're creating something amazing for your life. So I really love to hear that, Ingo. I just love to hear that perspective, because I think that marriage is so important, and the right relationship is so powerful for your life. And our society in America really downplays that, and that's a shame. So real quick, we got to jump into the sponsor. Shout out to the sponsor of the podcast really fast. But when we come back, though, I'm really curious for you, talking about wealth, right? And you talk about holistic wealth, the secret to creating holistic wealth. That sounds very interesting to me, and I want to get your insights on that when we come back in 1 minute. Are you struggling to make consistent, valuable content for yourself? Do you want to have an efficient and effective way to create content that attracts the people that you want to connect with in life, the people you want to build relationships with in business? Do you want to be the go-to authority at what you do, at what you're great at? Would it be helpful for you if you had a platform that connects you to incredible people in your industry? The kind of platform that gets you leads and lands you clients without you having to beat down anybody's door or blow up anybody's inbox. Whether you're already creating content or you're desiring to start and it's something that's been kind of burning inside of you for a while, I urge you and encourage you to check out the Pro Podcaster Academy. Get started right now. Join the waitlist at robzwentz.com.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world globally. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, join the Connected Leaders Academy today. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JASCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Loving this conversation, Ingo. Really good stuff. Talking about creating holistic wealth. What would you say is that secret to creating that holistic wealth?
Yeah, I think we need to look at all areas in life, right? So it's not only financial wealth, because as we talked already about, right? I mean, I was financially wealthy, but I was working like 50, 60 hours a week in a job I didn't really enjoy. It's also, and that also has an impact on your other areas of life, for example, on your health and also on your relationships with family and also with friends. And I think holistic wealth is more, having also this freedom of mind, having sufficient money to to support the lifestyle you want. It's not only just about being, I mean, many people, they say, I want to be a millionaire, for example, or whatever. I need a certain amount of money. But the question is, what do you really need to be happy, right? You need to find this balance. And today, I must say, I'm much more happy, right? I have more time for my kids. I can spend time with my family. I'm running my own business. So I'm not saying I'm working less on that, but I'm more flexible, right? I can take in time in the morning to be with my kids and in the evening to be with my wife, and can work whenever I find time in between. And I think finding this balance between having the spiritual freedom, the freedom of mind, financial freedom, and what's very important, also taking care for your health, because it doesn't help you if you work now 10, 20 years. That's also something that many people doing, right? They work very hard till their retirement, and they think they can enjoy their life, and then suddenly with whatever 65 or 70 they die because their lifestyle all their life was not really supporting their health. So I think that's something we should focus on, that we look at all areas in our life and try to they don't have to be all equal, right? We also have different preferences, but you need to find the right balance.
Absolutely. Yeah, well said. Really need to find that balance. And it sounds like you're somebody who really does love to push yourself. And we were talking about the adventure earlier of, like, making sure that you have this adventure in your life. You're building the physical health. So you're somebody who's involved. You do Ironmans and things of that nature. What led you into those extremes of fitness, and what benefits, payoff has that had for you?
What put me into that, I don't really know. I just like it and I love it. And for me, so I love being in the nature, right? It's also one very important aspect of my life, being connected to nature. And also now I'm not into any competitions right now, but I like to go running with my dogs in the fields, right? For me, this long distance events, so I did a lot of long distance, also multi-day cycling events, and a lot of crazy stuff, which we could call adventures, right? I love the adventure because, I love this unknown, and I think it's actually very important. I think, like, as kids, or as it's in our human nature that we have adventure, right? And if we look back on our childhood, we will also see it there, right? Because as childs, we love the adventures. We like to go down the hill with the bicycle or with the ski or whatever, right? We like to do crazy things. But then we are educated to play it more safe, right? We say, okay, it's dangerous. We need to do it like that. And over the years, we forget to do that. And I think I kept that. And I think because of that, because I like this adventure in my free time, it's also more easy for me to live with things that are unknown or unpredictable. And I mean, if we're talking about these long endurance events, for me, this is just like meditation. So if I go for a run for a few hours, or to go cycling for a few hours, and I'm with nature, I usually do this also without any earphones or any music or something like that. I'm just there with the nature, and I'm with my own thoughts. And it's also something where you can reflect a lot on yourself. And so for me, it's kind of meditation.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. That's definitely some of my best ideas come to me whenever I'm working out, whether that's any form of exercise brings incredible ideas and things you would never have thought of otherwise. So that's very true, man. You definitely find those breakthroughs in those moments. And speaking just to the adventure of all of that, like, you have to push yourself. And so if you push yourself physically, that like bleeds over into other areas of your life where you also need to push yourself, right? So if I'm able to push myself physically, that shows my body like, well, if I can do this for my physical body, I can do this for my mental side, my spiritual side, right? That those, you're strengthening all of those muscles. And I love that concept, because I truly do feel like, it's the micro and the macro, like everything is a sign of everything else. And there's some truth to how you do something is how you do everything. So if you do something really hard, but you really slack on other things, maybe you're not putting yourself into a place in those other spaces where you could also push yourself equally as hard. And so it's interesting. Okay, so if I can do this in one area of my life, then if I put myself to it and really find joy in what I'm doing, I'm going to be able to push myself in other areas. So your YouTube, did you want to say something to that?
Yeah, I just want to add, I mean, that was actually exactly what happened to me, right? When I was I started doing Ironman and long distance cycling races when now 20 years ago in 2005 or 6 or something like that. And it helped me a lot also building this discipline to shoot for a goal, right? To go after a goal. But it helped me also to understand this benefits of like thinking for the long term and really thinking big and having these dreams, right? Because when I was back in 2005, I said, okay, I want to finish one Ironman, right? And as a long distance athlete, you always have this dream. There's the Ironman World Championship in Hawaii, right? It's every year. It's you need to qualify for that, and it's not many people will get there, right? And I always had this dream, but at this time, back in 2006 or something, it was really like very far away. But over the years, but it was always in my head to do that. And over the years, I built it so far, my endurance and everything, my physical shape, that in 2018, finally, I made it and I qualified for the World Championship in Hawaii. And when I achieved that, it was basically when I was there in Hawaii and when I was walking over this finish line in Hawaii, it was like there I started to understand, okay, I can actually achieve anything, right? Because anything is possible. It's just like having this mindset, and I work also a lot with visualization or manifestation. I think people need to dare to think bigger, because they can do much more than they think today. I mean, if you cannot do it today, it doesn't mean you cannot do it at all, right? You just need to, if you want to do it, I think you can do anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, like that, some people think, well, I'd never have the courage to do that. I would never have the guts to do that, whatever that thing might be.
Right.
But yeah, right now you might not, but 10 years from now, you will, if you build yourself towards it, right? Or 5 years from now, or even a year from now, like depending on your pace and how you want to move, and maybe you bring coaches into your life, you bring trainers into your life, or you just learn a lot or push yourself, you can get yourself to those places, not in this very instant. You might not think you'd be able to do it, but those small incremental steps over time change everything. And I think it's something we have to really understand and embrace, because we get so stuck in watching social media or whatever platform, whatever thing we're watching, and we see somebody with success and our mind automatically thinks, well, they know something I don't know, they're better than me, I can't do that, and you have to remember, everybody who's done anything incredible has gone through a lot of pain to get there. A lot of pressure has been put on them to get to that place. But the best people, they learn to enjoy that pressure. They learn to enjoy that pain, just like working out, right? No pain, no gain. But when you start to enjoy the pain of it and know that it's making you better, man, that turns the momentum around. I'm curious, the small resets, that is the name of your YouTube channel. What does, we know what the Great Reset is called for in our world. Nobody's subscribing to that I know of, but what is the small reset, and why did you subscribe to that?
Yeah, I think, I was inspired a little bit by the Great Reset, because okay, they have this idea, they want to, it's more like doing a top-down decision for everybody, right? And they want to force people into what they call like being more happy or having a better world. Or I mean, we can agree or not agree to that. That's a different story. But I thought, okay, my approach is different. I think I cannot change the world, right? But I can work on myself every day and make myself better and contribute to my family, to society, to whatever. And having the small resets for myself every day. And I think if enough people would working on themselves sufficiently and trying to contribute also to society, to humankind as a whole, maybe even, I think it would be much more helpful, right? Because then it's really like it can become really a movement. But we should all start always with ourselves, right? Because that's where we can have the most impact. That's where we can make the most changes, and that's why it's also making the most sense to make this. And that's why I call it the small reset, right? Let's work on ourselves. Let's doing small resets, improve ourselves always a little bit. See, that doesn't mean we never fail, right? Failing is part of the game. But learn from our failures and move on and do it better next time. And I think that's how we make improvements to ourselves and to the world.
Yeah, I love that. And honestly, life is designed as a daily reset, right? We wake up every morning like on a reset.
Right.
I was wondering this at one point in time, like, why do we have to, like, why do we sleep? Why do we have to like start? Why is it hard, at least for me personally? Every morning's hard. Every morning when I have to get up is like, oh, man, I don't feel like getting up. Oh man, the bed's comfy. Oh, I could sleep for another 40 minutes or hour or whatever. And it's like, what a gift. And you start to look at it like that, man, what a gift, a chance to reset every single day, a chance to start over every day, which means I got to have routines. I got to have habits that I do. And if they're the wrong habits, it's going to take me down the wrong road. If I have good habits, it's going to keep lifting me up. Right. So that reset helps to put those habits and those strategies into place. What are some for you? Like in the morning, do you have some systems in place that really work well for you? What works well for you throughout the day, throughout the week?
Yeah. Just before I answer that, so you're saying it correctly. We're resetting ourselves every day, right? And I think that's also the important point. I mean, usually we're defining ourselves through our past, right? Through our experiences. That's who we are, who we define. It's our identity, right? It's in our past. But actually, it's not correct, because we have the chance to be whoever we want to be every day new. And that's where we should start. And that's something also I learned. I lived maybe not so much in the past, but I lived a lot in the future. I have to do this and this to become that and that. So it's also something wrong. And I think focusing on the present and not thinking about where I can be in 1 year, or I need a certain amount of money to be happy or something like that. But to start every day and say, okay, I will make this a good day. That's the point, right? And that's the only thing we can do. We can just work on this day today, or in this moment right now. And that's where I can make the changes. And if I continue this, if I do this all the time, then also the future will be bright, because the future one day will also be just today, right? And I mean, for morning routines, I think I'm doing also stuff. I usually start with meditation. I think it's important that you do something in the morning that's proactive. I think the worst thing you can do is like waking up and checking your whatever social media or emails. I think that's very bad. So I think you should start with something active. It could be writing or meditation or something like that. And I start the day usually easy. So I'm not turning on my cell phone before 8. Usually I stand up around 5:30. I do meditation, and then I prepare breakfast for my kids, and then I go for a walk with the dogs. And then I bring the kids to school. And by 8 o'clock I start working. But that means before I had already 2.5 hours or something like that were really for myself, and were really enjoyed the time, and they were not really like that I created something, but they're really for myself, and where I can reflect and all of the stuff. So they're very I love starting the day like that. If I don't do it, so usually I feel there's something missing, right? So
Yeah, 100%. It's interesting. You can go after all the things you want to go after, but if you go after them with the wrong frame of mind, you're going to have different outcomes. So when you set your day up the right way, when you set your day up and prepare yourself to do great things that day, your whole day turns out better. Your mood's better. You show up for people better. Right. You show up for yourself better. You have more energy. It's so important. And I think a lot of people, when they struggle with these things, I believe your day starts the night before. So how are you going to bed? How are you preparing for the next day? What's your mind like going to bed? But then, of course, waking up and having things in place that set the stage for the day, set the framework. Here's how I want to feel today. Here's what I want to do today, because so quickly life can get out of your hands, right? Especially with kids and a job and everything. It's like things can just like get haywire so fast. So to have that like reserved time for yourself, like sacred time for yourself, is so important. And like you said, when you do it, you know how good you feel. When you don't do it, you know how off you feel. So if you don't do that in your life, you might not know how off you've been feeling until you do it the right way. And that right way can look different for everybody. But like you said, having some sort of activity, some sort of action, centering yourself in the morning is so important. And so start doing that and you'll see how much different you feel throughout the day. I love that, man. Really, really important. Do you have anything when you go to bed at night? Anything you set up before you go to bed?
Yeah, that's why I was laughing a little bit when you mentioned it about kids. I would like to have something in the evening, but for me, since I have one teenage kid now and one almost teenage kid, it's a little bit more difficult to find this time in the evening for myself. So
Yeah.
Usually I'm getting tired now before the kids. So yes, I enjoy the time with the family, and sometimes it's sometimes there's more actions, and it's a bit unpredictable my evenings, but I try to enjoy it, and I try to read a few pages, but if I don't do it, it's also okay. So
yeah.
But that's also why it's very individual, right? I mean, some people do it in the morning, some people do it in the evening. If you have time, you can do both, or you're doing it during the day. But yeah, you need to find this time to work on this stuff and to be with yourself and have time for yourself.
For sure. Yeah, and when I say the evening, I mean, honestly, for me, it's like 5 to 10 minutes before I fall asleep. Just like, here's what I'm going to do tomorrow. And like you said, read a couple of pages. When I read of something, I'll fall asleep faster. And then just like having good things in my head, maybe some like affirmations for myself or for the next day in my head as I fall asleep to kind of like carry me through. Because it can be super simple like that. It doesn't need to be. I think sometimes we overcomplicate things, and it doesn't need to be that complicated. So before we wrap this thing up, man, I want to thank you for your time, Ingo. Really enjoyed talking to you. I want to encourage people to check you out on YouTube. So go to YouTube and search The Small Reset, at The Small Reset, to check out your podcast. Tell me a little bit about your podcast and what you're doing there.
Yeah, I suppose I've also interview style podcast where I'm also interviewing other coaches or people that also had these breakthroughs in life. But I also have like educational content, especially on mindset development and also how to become successful, how to break out your 9 to 5 and become an entrepreneur. And there are many episodes about that. So check it out and let me know what you think.
Very cool. YouTube at The Small Reset. Check out Ingo on there. Man, this has been an awesome conversation. I want to encourage people, if you want to be the authority in your space, build that platform that gets you the notoriety and builds you connections in your life, I'd love to connect with you with the Pro Podcaster Academy. Go to robzwentz.com. Ingo, anything you want to leave the audience with before we sign off?
I think there's a beautiful saying I always like to mention. This is happiness is a place to come from and not a destination. And I think that's something very important, because if we're looking for our happiness in the future, eventually we will not get there, because the future will always be the future and the present is always the present.
So how did that go? Happiness is not the place to go to, it's the place to come from.
Yeah, happiness is not a destination, it's a place to come from.
Yeah, that's really good. I like that a lot. All right, man. Thank you for your time. Another true testimony of breakthrough. Until next time, this has been the Unstuck Movement.